Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And today we bring you another installment of our Keep, Loan or Sell series. And hopefully all of you out there are enjoying it. Plenty of engagement in the comments, which is what we are looking for. Jack, who are we doing today, my man?
Today we are doing the infamous Harry Winks.
A specialist subject.
Harry Billy Winks. Dave has a doctorate in the subject. 26 years old. Pretty shocking. I think he's turning 27 midway through next season. Joined in 2014. That was when he actually had his first official contract signed with the senior club. Total matches played for Spurs in his entire career, 128. Actually, not that many when you look at like how long he's actually been here, which is quite sad. 11 goal involvements in 128 matches for this football club. And I just wrote, maybe we'll talk about this later, but likely clubs maybe for him to be going is Everton. I don't really have to insult your guys' intelligence. I'm pretty sure we all know with this channel where we want him to go. We want him to be sold. That's why he has the bronze card there. But matches played from this season, 28. Goals and assists combined from this season, 3. Actually, an incredible tally for Harry Winks, I must say, at the end of a season. But everybody, I think what you come down to Harry Winks is the huge problem with this guy is that he is the definition of a player that has just somehow gotten away with just being here too long. Almost like a game of like Among Us or hide and seek or something like that. The guy has just never been caught, never been found, never been sold. Somehow other players, even better players, I'll be honest, have been sold before him. Maybe the reason that he never really ended up getting sold, perhaps until probably this season, he finds a way, to, not be the problem maybe in the dressing room. Maybe he doesn't attract as much attention or as many, problems or, kind of difficulties as other players might. And so he kind of perhaps gets away with, maybe not being as good as other players, with a better attitude. When you kind of say that, that kind of makes you think, wow, Winks is, a good player then, because at the end of the day, that's all you can ask is, someone who has a good attitude and, puts in their best effort. Problem is Winks is that much of a shocking footballer that it really just doesn't matter like how much of a good effort he even tries to put in. Even when he looks like he's trying to put in good effort, he's making so many mistakes and hurting you in so many ways that it really just doesn't matter. I feel like at the end of the day, he did, love this football club, originally from the youth academy, actually sort of, maybe started off kind of well, like he had some good games and some pretty historic games that a lot of Spurs fans, in fact, reference and maybe even overhype, you might say, from his good spells. But at the end of the day, he is a Tottenham lad. He does support this club and will probably continue to support this club after he leaves it this summer. I must say, though, with Harry Winks, somebody that I just feel like has kind of stolen a living and has gotten away with maybe being at this club for way, way too long. And in fact, has hurt, us in a lot of occasions. David will reference this, but a lot of really embarrassing results for Spurs. And even like games where maybe had Harry Winks played better or even just not played, maybe Spurs would not have had such calamitous results in certain occasions. I'll just flash through them maybe even quickly. We all know about the Bayern result, of course. We did have a Middlesbrough, I think, FA Cup game to which we drew. Rochdale as well, which is quite sad. We had trouble against Ghent at one stage as well in the group stages, but he played in both of those games. Antwerp, we lost there. Dinamo Zagreb, probably one of the most embarrassing results of our football club's history. He played, of course, and was actually, I believe, a starter in that one. The Ryan Mason final, in which we lost 1-0. Patos de Ferreira from this year, the Test from this year, Crystal Palace from this year. This is just kind of, just the, certain moments like Winks, of course, all those results. It's not like it's his fault for all of it, but he really has played probably a bad part in a lot of bad moments of this football club in maybe the last 6 years. And he's just sadly been in the team sheet for some of those calamitous results. And it's really not a coincidence, if you ask me. Not really sure what else I can say, Dave, apart from the fact that I feel like he's been sort of seen as a deep line playmaker his whole career, when he's not really ever good enough to be that sort of player. You don't really see Winks ever like, turning the ball, being able to, ping passes left and right. You never see him switching play. You never see him bringing in players into play that are maybe way out wide or anything. He just plays passes on the floor that are nice and easy for him so that he can kind of stat pad. He really, really struggles with turning and being able to turn on the ball or being able to receive it on the half turn. Perhaps that's because of some of the injuries maybe he's had in his career that kind of hurt his turning radius. He now just looks like a very scared 26-year-old man, honestly, at times on this football pitch. But Dave, honestly, I'm kind of rambling now. Take it away.
No, look, first of all, what I'm not going to do is sit here and question the guy's love and loyalty to Tottenham Hotspur. That's
Yeah.
never in question, and I must be fair to the guy. And I'm going to try and remain, look, everyone knows my thoughts on this guy, but I'm going to try and remain fair across this. I'm not going to sit here and rail on the guy, which I have done previously, which I think I'm justified to do, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to sit here and do that today. But what I will say to people is he's been at Tottenham 8 years now since he signed his first professional contract. This charade has gone on for 8 years too long, in my opinion. Look, at the end of the day, for me, Jack, you know, he just hasn't been good enough. See, look, I know it's not his fault, but he was compared to the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, by Pochettino, and just never, ever, ever turned out to be that guy, to be that player. And look, he was asked about the quotes, and he did come out and say, look, you know, I'm not at that level yet, but I need to do everything I can to get to that level. But he's just not at that level. Look, the guy's 26. You're not going to see much more improvement out of him. You know, you're just going to keep seeing the same guy. Look, Harry Winks' problem is he's never been able to nail down a proper starting spot in this team. Moussa Dembele, Wanyama. Okay, you say, okay, fair enough. They left, you would say he got his bit of a chance in beside Moussa Sissoko. Since then, Ndombele, we've tried Dele Alli there, Lo Celso, Ericsson has played there at times. You've now got Højbjerg and Bentancur and Skip. Everyone who comes to this club always finds themselves ahead of this guy in the pecking order. And that's not a coincidence. It just goes to show to the level that this guy is at. Since we brought in Bentancur in the summer or in the January transfer window, before that, when this guy was playing in midfield, we couldn't get a grip on the game. And the reason why is because we couldn't pass out from the back because we didn't have a player that wanted to actually receive the ball. If everyone goes back and remembers watching what Jamie Carragher done about this guy, I think it was actually after that City Cup final, where he showed Harry Winks running towards the ball, but even he could see through it. And I've said this about the guy a long time. He doesn't actually want that ball. He doesn't want it. And when he is running and he receives it, and the reason why you know he doesn't want it is because he doesn't want to turn. He doesn't want to try and play that pass forward to help the team. He's constantly passing it backwards to where it came from, shifting it to the sides 5 yards. I'm not being funny. Pay me half his wages. I'll go out there and do that. I'll get myself to a stage where I'm fit enough to be able to go out and do that. It's nothing special. That's the basics of being a footballer, being able to pass it 5 yards. The guy does not get stuck in midfield. At times this season when he's come in alone, Jack, beside Højbjerg, he was that bad. People were starting to question Højbjerg. People actually were starting to forget why Højbjerg was brought here in the first place, which was to be that defensive guy behind Ndombele because Ndombele didn't want to do the work. Now, look, granted he stayed at Tottenham, and granted Conte said the things he said about him, but he was always going to have to come out and say them sort of things about Harry Winks, just in case he had to rely on him between the January transfer window and the summer. He's not going to come out and berate Harry Winks in the press and say what we all know about the guy. If he has to rely on the guy and then his job hinges on this guy on the football pitch, he's not going to put himself in that situation. He's playing 5D chess. But we shouldn't be sitting here and go, oh, but, you know, he stayed here ahead of Ali, Ronald McDombele, and the shit show. People like that don't take satisfaction in that. He only stayed because his attitude is better than theirs. But that's the minimum I expect at my football club, for the player's attitude to be right. That's not a reason why you should be kept. Unfortunately, things got that bad. That was the reason. But that shouldn't be the case why this guy's kept. But he's just not good enough. He's not commanding enough. Some of the worst defeats in our history, this guy, or in our recent history, this guy has been involved in. Because teams know, target this guy. Get up this guy's ass. If he runs towards the ball looking for it, get up him. Take the ball off him. It's too easy. He's 26 years of age now as well. He's not 22, 23 where he can still develop. He's 26. You look at the players that have developed under Conte. Davies, Dyer. It's not there with Harry Winks. He hasn't brought that development that our Conte regime has brought to other people. Doherty, for instance. He hasn't been able to do that. Sessegnon. The list goes on and on of these players that have turned it around under Conte. He hasn't. And it's just getting to the point, Jack, where even when the guy comes on, we're conceding goals. We're conceding goals. You can pick out a number of games this season where he's come on and we've just conceded goals and we would still be winning the game. Look, this guy just isn't good enough. He can't compete in the air. He can't compete physically, and he's not progressive enough with the ball. When Bentancur came in, the whole style of football changed. Passing from the back into the midfield, into the forward line. Everyone was asking me last January, last December, Dave, what do you want in the window? Where do you think we need to improve? And I remain consistent. The one thing I said is a guy that can get on the ball and play. But we have WINKS. No, WINKS can't do it. We've seen time and time again. This guy can't do it. He's not brave enough to do it. Yes, you can say maybe some of the ankle injuries he's had. Maybe that's why he's afraid to get turned. That's why he's afraid to get clattered. But then that's also another reason just to get rid of the guy. Because at Tottenham Hotspur, to be able to win trophies, you can't be afraid of things. You look, to play in the Premier League, Jack, you have to be brave. You're playing in front of 60, 70,000 most weeks, millions across the world. You have to be brave on the ball. You can't hide. And this guy hides on a football pitch. When you have Jamie Carragher coming out, who has no interest in Harry Winks, but when you have him coming out, exposing the problem with Tottenham, not being able to transfer the ball from defence into midfield, into the forward line, and highlighting this guy is the reason why. It tells you everything you need to know. You need to know it. Players know it. Pundits know it. Fans know it. This guy is just not good enough. Nothing against the guy. He's just not good enough to be at Tottenham Hotspur. Look, no doubt he loves the club, but the guy's ability is just not what we need where we want to take it. He has survived here solely on being a homegrown player, a Tottenham boy. It works well for the likes of the squad registrations, etc., etc., etc. But it's getting to a point, Jack, where his career is being held back and Tottenham's progression is being held back. And when both of them things start to happen, one has to give. And it's always going to be the player. You can't keep holding on to a player for sentimental reasons because he loves the club. All these things should be bare minimum. Bare minimum of any professional football club in the Premier League. He's just not good enough. The amount of midfielders we've constantly been bringing into this club, because this guy just cannot offer what any manager needs. And it's just got to come to an end at this stage. I've tried my best not to rail on him. Hopefully other people can understand that I didn't.
To be honest, I think I was probably a bit meaner than you were probably, to be fair, Dave. If I'm going to be honest, people might be saying, Jack was a bit harsh there. If anything, I must say I'm actually a bit worried for Winks' kind of future because he's not going to go into a team with the reputation that he has at Spurs, where he has fans that, kind of have this sort of love and, kind of I don't know, kind of petty sort of love for him, Dave, pity sort of love, you might say, for the guy. He's going to kind of go into it, blank, clean slate, but that might actually hurt him, I think. And he could actually end up, getting fans on his back quite quickly. People might actually start to see the same problems we did, where it's like, what is this guy actually good at? What can he actually bring to this team? I'm a bit worried because, Dave, the club he is rumored with is Everton. And I just don't really see it working out for him in a Premier League club, let alone even a championship club, if I'm going to be honest. The guy just isn't a good enough passer of the ball to really make it as a Premier League sort of deep-lying playmaker. And I'll be honest, he's not good enough and we all know he's not good enough defensively. And he's really, really small and just not really physically robust as well. And if he isn't an excellent passer or, kind of like an N'Golo Kante, kind of a pest, defensively, he's not really going to cut it in the Premier League or in the Championship, if you ask me. So I am a bit worried. I am a bit worried for him, actually, for his future.
Not only that, though, Jack, you got to look at the players in the England setup that have come out of absolutely nowhere. Bellingham, Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips has had a chance to come up from the Championship into the Premier League and took his England spot. And he does something similar to what Harry Winks does. But he's just more braver on the ball. He's more combative in the midfield. And when you see these players coming out of nowhere, taking over his position in the England squad, you look at the amount of money we spent on centre midfielders at Tottenham to rectify this passing problem or this problem of getting a grip in the midfield that was left when Ndombele or when Moussa Dembele left the club. The money we've spent to try and rectify that problem. But yet this is everything people say the guy is good at. But then why are we spending so much money on this position to rectify this problem? Finally, it looks like we've got it sorted with Bentancur. But it just goes to show the level of the guy. And for me, look, it's just getting to the point, Jack, whenever he plays, he's the target. He's the pinpoint of the press.
Yeah.
It's getting to the stage where he's lost in midfield. It's getting to the point where people don't even question, like, for instance, when he was in the team playing with Højbjerg, Jack, people are questioning, like they stop questioning Harry Winks because they think he's this passer. Then they go, what about Højbjerg? Højbjerg can't pass a football. I'm actually glad they've done that in a way because Højbjerg has come out since, and you've seen what he's done on international duty. See what he's done in a Spurs jersey. The assist for Harry Kane against Leeds comes to mind. He's proven he can pass the ball. He can spray the balls and everything else. But the problem is the reason why he couldn't get on a grip to show that side of his game is because you need a partner to be able to help you win the ball back. And he cannot do that either. And when you're starting to put someone else's deficiencies onto another player, it's becoming a problem and it's snowballing. And now you've just got to get rid of the problem. Look, loves the club. Thank you very much for your service. But it's time to go.
Time to go, Dave. Right you are. Well, everybody, let us know what you think of this one. Pretty long one, as you probably expected. Hopefully it lived up to maybe all the hype. So long, so farewell. So long, farewell. Maybe that's what I would maybe say to Winks at this stage. And like I said, kind of worried for the rest of his career. And hopefully he does find a club. And maybe he might prove us wrong in the future. Really doubt it, but maybe he'll prove us wrong.
He's got 4 years left of his prime, Jack. I guarantee you now, I'll put 100 quid on him with you. He will not prove us wrong. And I swear, just
not making that bad with you. No.
Just quickly before we end off, one more thing. I know I don't really want this to go on much longer, but look, I swear, one more thing to add. I don't want to hear any more of these excuses. Oh, he's not a centre midfielder. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's more of a cam. The guy's not a centre attacking midfielder. He, in his own words, he done an interview with the FA where he clearly states, I was brought in to Tottenham. They told me I was going to be a centre midfielder. I've played that way right through the academy. So there's no excuses left for this guy. Yeah, look, we can try him in a more advanced position. But if he can't pass the ball and he doesn't want to get turned on the ball in a defensive position, he's definitely not going to do it playing in between the lines with centre-backs coming up his hole. If he cannot deal with the space sometimes that he's given in that sort of role, and he still wants to pass it 5-10 yards, he's not going to be able to deal with 6-foot centre-backs plus coming up his hole and challenge him. He just won't be able to deal with it. Look, like I said, Harry Winks, thank you for your service. If you leave Tottenham, I hope you go on and have a decent career somewhere else. But it is time to go.
Well, there you are, everybody. Leave the comments down below where you think maybe the best club is for Harry Winks. Pretty sure everybody's saying sell. I'd be surprised if he didn't. But let us know, everybody, in the comments. Hit the like button on your way out. And David and I, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust.